the brink of defeat to win the title. And Rigondeaux, who is a fighter, who was a tremendous amateur, undefeated as a pro. Both men feel like they have something to prove in this fight, and they think they're ready to do it.
Currently 20-0 with 11 knockouts. WBA champion.
In my opinion, Rico Ramos is a boxer like all the other ones. It's a pretty difficult sport. It's a jungle, and only the strongest survives.
Oh, big right hand delivered by Ramos.
Guillermo Rigondeaux. He was a two-time Olympian. He's 8-0 as a pro, 6 knockouts, over 400 amateur fights. To me, he's still amateur.
Oh, he dropped him!
He says that I box like an amateur. When I win and take away his title, we'll see if he still thinks I'm an amateur. I will be the first fighter to win a title with only 9 fights.
I'm stronger and I'm faster. He's going to be 8-1.
So this sets up as a very intriguing matchup, Stephen. The conventional wisdom is that for Ramos to be effective in this fight, he's going to have to be the one to be the aggressor.
Well, you'd think so, because Rico Ramos is not likely to outbox Guillermo Rigondeaux. But here's the problem for Ramos. Rigondeaux wants you to be aggressive. He's a natural counterpuncher, so if Ramos is aggressive, especially in the early rounds, and Rigondeaux has success counterpunching, well, maybe Ramos puts his gloves in his pocket, and then how does he win the fight? Because, again, he's not going to outbox the Cuban.
Very interesting. Well, we turn to Antonio Tarver. And Antonio, if that one of those scenarios happens and Rigondeaux is the master boxer, what's plan B for Ramos?
You know what, Al? I wouldn't be so fast to throw away plan A.
Oh, okay.
Because with Rigondeaux, he has only 8 fights as a professional. Some people think he's still a little bit amateurish, so that means there's a lot of loopholes in his armor. If Rico Ramos can exploit some of those loopholes and be aggressive, go to the body and maybe weaken him a little bit round 8, 9, 10, maybe have a good chance of pulling off the upset. But with Rico Ramos, he has plan B anyway. He has the X factor, has power in both hands, and he's had to call on that power even in winning the championship, and he got that knockout that he needed. It's always good to have a plan B in your bag, trust me.
Yeah, it's a big plan B when you can score by knockout later in the fight. Well, the moment is almost upon us. And we are just about ready to go for our main event. Rico Ramos and Guillermo Rigondeaux for the title. Let's send things up to Barry Egan. So here is Guillermo Rigondeaux, the 31-year-old who not once but twice defected from Cuba. The first time he ended up being arrested in Brazil. The second time in 2009, he was able to leave and pursue his dreams as a professional boxer.
And now we talk about him defecting. Because he tried to defect that first time, he didn't get a chance to become only the 4th fighter in history to win Olympic gold medals in 3 Olympics. He won in 2000, he won in 2004. He would have been a heavy favorite in 2008, but he didn't get chosen to be on the Cuban team, and he turned pro at the age of 28 in 2009.
Yeah, he is a 31-year-old, as I pointed out, so this is not a fighter who's at the beginning of his career, but gets a world title shot after just 8 fights, and it's because of his amateur pedigree, no doubt that he got that win and got this chance at a world title. So Guillermo Rigondeaux, the challenger, enters the ring. Of course, the Cuban flag being waved proudly in the ring as he awaits what for him is an important moment.
And Al, I can't wait to see him take his robe off, because his handlers told us he looks like a mini haggler.
Oh, okay. That'll make him look pretty good.
Okay.
And Rico Ramos makes his entrance. The 24-year-old making his first title defense. And he was very honest when he talked to us about the fact that in his fight to win the world title. Nerves really got the better of him, and that was why he was so far behind before he finally won by knockout.
Well, our one very interesting and unusual thing about Rico Ramos, he's a world champion. He has his third different trainer in his last 3 fights. How often do you hear a guy winning a world title by knockout and changing trainers? I don't think that breeds confidence in Rico, and it certainly doesn't breed confidence in how I view him.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey for him as it relates to trainers, and his response is simply, well, sometimes it just works out that way. We'll see how it works out, in fact, to have a new man in his corner as he enters for his first title defense. And this young man with his trainer, his promoter, Danny Goosen there, hopes to start what he hopes will be a long run as champion.
And I should quickly point out, Rigondeaux has had only 8 fights. He's had 3 trainers as well. Ronnie Shields, Freddie Roach, and now Ismael Salas.
6 trainers for 2 fighters. That's a lot. Well, we are set to go. Rico Ramos and Guillermo Rigondeaux. It's for the WBA Super Bantamweight title, and it's scheduled for 12 rounds. Ring announcer Barry Egan has the introduction.
At this time, we would like to recognize yet another boxing legend here in attendance. Ladies and gentlemen, a world champion, Floyd Money Mayweather. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to the Pearl at the Palm Casino Resort here in Las Vegas, Nevada. For Showbox, the new generation, brought to you by Goosen Tudor Promotions in association with Corona, La Cerveza, Mas Fina, and Showtime. This bout is sanctioned by the World Boxing Association with the supervisor in attendance, Mr. Aurelio Fiengo. And now, boxing fans, it's the Showbox main event of the evening. 12 rounds of boxing for the WBA Super Bantamweight Championship of the World. The 3 judges at ringside scoring this bout: Adelaide Bird, Bert Clements, and Dick Howe. And the man in charge of the action once the bell sounds, Mr. Joe Cortez. To all of the boxing fans here in attendance this evening, and to the millions watching around the world, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to throw down. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing the white trunks with the purple trim. He weighed in at 120 1/2 pounds. He has a professional record of 8 wins, no losses, and 6 KOs. Originally from Santiago de Cuba, Cuba, now fighting out of Miami, Florida, please welcome 2-time Olympic gold medalist and current interim WBA Super Bantamweight champion. Here is Guillermo El Chaco Rigondeaux. And his opponent fighting out of the red corner, wearing the red trunks with the gold trim. He weighed in at an even 122 pounds. He is undefeated with a professional record of 20-0, 11 of those big wins coming by way of knockout. He is the pride of Whittier, California, and the current and defending WBA Super Bantamweight Champion of the World. Here is Rico Suavecito Ramos.
All right, Rico, Guillermo, Okay, we went over the rules in the dressing room. Ya vi las reglas dos en el camerino. I expect a good, clean fight. Quiero una pelea limpia. This is for the WBA championship. Obey my commands at all time. Protect yourselves at all time. Remember, guys, I'm fair, but I'm firm. Touch them up.
Taylor tape for this championship bout. Rigondeaux has used a strength and conditioning coach for the first time. He does look bigger up top, and the fact that he came in 1.5 pounds under the division limit suggests, to me at least, that he is in superb shape. The rules are the unified rules here in Nevada. No standing 8 count, no 3 knockdown. Only referee Joe Cortez can stop the fight. Can't be saved by the bell in any round. If there is an accidental foul that ends the fight before 4, no decision. After that, we go to the cards.
So we're set to go here in round number 1 in this World Championship encounter. Al Bernstein along with Antonio Tarver and Steve Farhood as we get ready to go. And Rigondeaux already with one of those wild left hands that Antonio talked about. He will throw them.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be successful tonight with that punch. You know, throwing it so wild and so wide. I think Rico Ramos is experienced enough to negate that.
Well, if we worried about Rigondeaux moving and not coming forward to throw punches, so far at least, in the early stages of this fight, he's doing it. This is the 3rd straight lefty that Rico Ramos has faced.
Amateur experience, when we talk about Rigondeaux, well, he wrote the book, 2-time gold medals. Rico Ramos was in the Olympic trials in 08. He was a top American amateur. And in terms of professional experience, well, that number 8 bouts, that does stand out for Guillermo Rigondeaux. Only 35 rounds. Those are numbers of a young prospect fighting on Showbox, not a guy ready to claim the 1st or 2nd highest spot in the junior featherweight division.
Yeah, if you normally, if you're Rico Ramos, a guy like Rico Ramos, you got 130 amateur fights, you won 97, you won a bunch of times. That's pretty good. But when you get in the ring with Rigondeaux, who fought 400 amateur fights and won, reports are more than 380 of them, it doesn't quite match up. Halfway through round number 1, and it's been Rigondeaux coming forward. Now, remember we talked about Rico Ramos saying that he didn't feel comfortable. The nerves got the better of him when he won his world title. Will that affect him here early in his first defense?
Yeah, it seems like he's a little tight. It looks like he's a little dry. Don't see a sweat popping off him right now, but he's just going to have to relax and let his hands go. He can't expect to win a round like this where he's really not engaging. He has to start behind that jab and has to trust it.
And Takafumi Shimoda, he threw only 39 punches per round, averaged that according to show stats. And so he was not active in that fight and had to pull it out with a knockout win. Oh, big left hand by Rigondeaux, and Ramos is in trouble. He's down. He is in big trouble. And there is about a half minute left to go in this round.
I thought that was a push myself. He was hurt.
The knockdown was a push, but the punch did cause an effect.
Rigondeaux lands another straight left hand and pushes Ramos back again. Ramos against the ropes, in some trouble. Another left hand. They are raining down on Ramos.
And this is what happens when you're a natural counterpuncher. You sit back and you wait. Sometimes you wait too long and you get hit with a shot. Now here's the inexperience from Rico Ramos, still being a young fighter. Didn't move and got hit with a couple more big right hands.
He sure did. Round 1 is over, but lots of action. Let's see.
Looked like it was a left hand, to pretty high on the forehead. Now clearly Ramos is in trouble. There's no punch that lands there, and there was enough time between the left hand that hurt Ramos and Ramos going down that I don't think you should have called that a knockdown.
Really?
Was he hurt? Yes. But what? He missed that left hand.
This is an interesting one. Let's go to Chuck Giampa, a former ring official. And Chuck, what's your opinion on this one?
I concur with the referee. I think that was a knockdown. It was an accumulation. There was a little delay, but he did go down, in my opinion, as a result of a punch.
Let's poll the panel, Antonio.
I agree. I know it was the punch that caused the effect from the knockdown, but it looked like he pushed him, and he was hurt bad, though.
Yeah, we head into round number 2, and Steve, I hate to say it, I'm going to agree with the other guys.
I stand alone and proud and proud.
But you're proud. All right, we head into round number 2. That doesn't mean you're wrong.
That's right.
Scheduled for 12, but a shocking development in round number 1. Guillermo Rigondeaux, not known as a monstrous puncher, he's more of a boxer, although against Willie Casey in his last fight, he got a stoppage in that, and he was a terror, beating Casey in his hometown of Dublin, Ireland, and he has come out with the same aggression here in this fight against Rico Ramos. And now Rico Ramos' mission is to right the ship.
Yeah, I don't think it could have been a much worse start for Rico Ramos. And to me, in the long term for this fight, the fact that Rigondeaux's in the pocket and backing up Ramos, that allows Rigondeaux to control the pace. And that's not a good thing for Ramos.
Ramos thought the left hook was going to be his big weapon in this fight, has not used it yet. And he's moving a lot to his right, which is inviting that straight left hand from Rigondeaux. You don't do that against the lefty.
Ramos threw all of 15 punches in the first round.
You love to see those guys move to the right so you can throw that straight left hand at him, didn't you?
Oh, most definitely. But again, if you're a slick boxer that has great instincts, you can make a guy miss maybe 2-3 inches and be in position to land a big shot. But it just don't seem like Ramos right now is mentally in this fight when his championship is on the line.
Yeah, there's a lot at stake here. Halfway through round number 2, and we wondered who would be the aggressor. It has been Guillermo Rigondeaux, that's for sure. The 31-year-old former amateur champion who won just about everything as an amateur. Two-time Olympic gold medalist, as Steve pointed out, won countless world championships, and as a pro, he is 8-0. Criticized when he fought Ricardo Cordoba in a fight on the undercard of Pacquiao and Margarito because he fought a very defensive fight in what was supposed to be his coming out party, but he's not defensive tonight.
No, and Rico Ramos, if you told me early on that he wouldn't be punching, I would say because he got countered and he got scared, but he's not getting countered. Rigondeaux's made the fight and has been leading and hurting Ramos. Ramos has to stop moving to his right and he has to let his right hand go a little bit.
And Rico Ramos not getting his left foot outside the right foot of Rigondeaux, and you just cannot beat a lefty unless you do that. He's standing right straight in the pocket and not getting to his left, and he's just not going to beat him that way.
When you look at both counter punches, both guys being counter punches, this is what we were somewhat afraid of, that both guys will start waiting. Nobody's taking initiative to be the aggressor, and they're looking for the perfect shot. And sometimes that's not always good. You want to hit the guy anywhere when it's, you want to land and score points.
It's happened a little bit here in round 2, although Rigondeaux, there's a good straight left hand by Rigondeaux. That was probably enough to win that round for him, and he'd been moving forward already. So not a stellar beginning. Reggie Jackson, the trainer of Rico Ramos, a new guy stepping into that corner to talk to him. There's your top super bantamweights.
Yeah, this is my top 10, and the most important name here is the one you don't see, which is pound for pounder Nonito Donaire. That's because Donaire hasn't fought at super bantam yet, but he's going to. He's moving up, and he'll debut in this division in 2 weeks against Vasquez, the former champ who I have number 5. If Donaire wins, he'll immediately join Nishioka and the winner of this fight at the top of the 122 pounders. But outside of those top 3 names, there really isn't much here. Not the strongest of divisions, but pretty strong at the top.
The all-time hit king, Pete Rose, who's a very big boxing fan, and he's on hand here to catch the action.
And I remember Pete was in a very good 8-rounder with Bud Harrelson at second base. Remember that in the playoffs?
Yes, indeed. I think he got the better of that, if I'm not mistaken. All right, we head into round number 3 of this scheduled 12-rounder. It has gotten off to a very good start for Guillermo Rigondeaux, the 31-year-old challenger against 24-year-old Rico Ramos, who's making his first title defense of this 122-pound title. Ramos down in round 1. Got it together a little bit in round 2, but as Antonio pointed out, both men were a little tentative in that round.
Yeah, well, you think about it. Rico Ramos told us he was nervous before his title fight. Rigondeaux, full of confidence, if not cockiness. Well, what's happened in the first 2 rounds, if anything, just makes the Cuban more cocky and confident, and Ramos more nervous and tentative.
Rigondeaux has not lost a boxing match since 2003 in the World Amateur Championships. That's saying a lot. And the power punches tell the story, because Rigondeaux, with those straight lefts, has landed many more.
Yeah, and it's not like Rigondeaux is that busy. It's just that Ramos is not punching at all.
You know, Ramos looks like a deer stuck in headlights right now.
He does. And
seems like he's thinking too much and just won't trust his boxing ability. And I mean, he's a young fighter, still learning on the job, but at this stage, he should know it's time to fight.
Yeah. And go ahead, Alan.
No, go ahead.
Well, he did fight this way with Shimoda for 6 rounds and then scored a one-punch knockout. But he's not in with Shimoda now.
We may be headed for Plan B from Ramos. I don't want to throw that Plan A out yet.
No, Plan A's been out the window.
It's gone already. All right, a little over a minute left to go here in round 1, and Ramos now starting to attack a little bit. And lands a little bit of a right hand and a little clutching and grabbing, and Joe Cortez will break them up. We mentioned the new trainers, Salas, the new trainer for Guillermo. Guillermo said that, you know, he's helping me set down on my punches, and we saw a little evidence of that, certainly in round 1.
I'll tell you what, both fighters are not fond of trainers because,
no.
you know, I think they both switched 3 times in their last 3 fights. So once they find somebody they can work with, then they'll be on their way.
6 trainers and 2 fighters, that's a lot. Good body shot by Guillermo Rigondeaux.
That's his best punch, that left hand to the stomach.
And, you know, he uses the jab only as a rangefinder. Antonio made the point, it's not his strong weapon, which you'd think it would be more prevalent. But in this fight, he's used it at least as a rangefinder. Seconds remaining here in round number 3. Scheduled for 12 for the 122-pound championship. Rico Ramos defending the first time, down in round number 1. And things are not going well for him to this point.
All right.
I need to let them hands go a little bit more, baby. Okay? Yeah. Keep stepping over to your left, throwing that right down to the bottom. But you got to come back with that left hook. All right? Double left hook. Okay? That's good. Take a deep breath. All right? Let them hands go. Throw it down. You got to let them hands go. All right? Don't get careless. Okay? Okay. When he starts.
I need you to switch them, okay? Don't concentrate on the same spot only, all right? All right, let's do it. Give me the Vaseline, please. Breathe in deep, breathe in deep.
All right. So Ismael Salas, a well-known and renowned Cuban trainer, and they made a big point, Rigondeaux's people, and Rigondeaux did, that the language barrier with Ronnie Shields and Freddie Roach prior to this was a big issue for them, that they needed to have a trainer, especially during fights, that could speak directly to the fighter.
And from a fighter's standpoint, I understand because, you know, sometimes you need to get that message across instantly, you know, and you can't wait to, you know, somebody interpret it for you. You need to hear that message immediately.
Yeah, it's a good point. You'd have to, for you, it'd be like imagining if somebody doing that in a corner and it doesn't feel right to you, does it?
I couldn't imagine it.
That's why Antonio fired that Ukrainian trainer.
Well, you know, who can learn Ukrainian? It's not, you know, even Berlitz, you can't do it. Round 4, and this one is scheduled for 12. I'm Al Bernstein along with Steve Farhood and Antonio Tarver. Andre Ward joined us earlier in the evening and did a great job, and we enjoyed that. And Chuck Giampas here helping us with the scoring and officiating issues. Rigondeaux now has settled in here, and he's the only one throwing punches, but not very many.
Well, I'd like to see Ramos try to time that little flick of a jab of Rigondeaux. It's not really meant to score or to hurt Ramos, but how else? Rigondeaux is so fast that Ramos, when he throws right hands, Rigondeaux just steps back. He sees it coming. How many guys have tried to hit Rigondeaux with a right hand? Basically everybody he's ever fought.
I thought Rico Ramos's plan of throwing those left hooks, double left hooks, which I think is a wonderful weapon against the southpaw, I thought that would be something that might be unique and work in this fight, and he hasn't thrown those punches at all. He hasn't stepped to the left and really set down to throw those hooks. Good left hand by Rigondeaux.
Yeah, Rico Ramos is going to have to just get comfortable enough to just believe in himself. Right now, he's doubting himself. Right now, you know, he's not really sure if he can get in there and land the type of punches that he wants. Right there, you see a slow jab coming back. He got countered. So right now, he's in fear of opening up, in fear of the counter punch, the same punch that hurt him in round 1. But he has to let that go and fight.
Under a minute left to go here in round 4, and let's make one thing clear. Guillermo Rigondeaux is not running around this ring. He's standing right in front of Rico Ramos. He's not punching that much, but he's the one punching.
And he did start the fight that way.
Yes, he did.
He's been doing it steadily, to his credit. And, you know, I'm only half kidding when I say this. Maybe Rico Ramos' strategy right now should be step on Rigondeaux's right foot before he throws the right hand. That'll keep him in place.
Yeah, yes, it will. Well, Louis DeCubas, the very well-known fight figure who's the manager of Rigondeaux, told us he thought Rigondeaux was going to hit him with one punch and end this fight. Well, he almost did that in the first round. But it looks like he's looking for that. But round passes into the night, and the fans not excited about that round. Well, Strikeforce is back March 3rd with a full night of MMA action. This one is headlined by a woman's 135-pound title match. Champion Miesha Tate, and she's exciting to watch, taking on the outspoken, and that's an understatement, Olympic judo medalist Ronda Rousey. Rousey started the war on Twitter, and they'll finish the war in the cage. The preliminary bouts also can be seen on Show Extreme beginning at 8, a great new innovation here on Showtime for both MMA and boxing.
When you're working with your left hand, you must keep your right hand up, all right? Okay, he's hurt already, all right? You cut it, he's already cut, you understand? You got him cut already. You already busted his mouth, all right? So keep busy.
We're headed into round number 5.
All right, let's go.
And Guillermo Rigondeaux in the white and purple trunks, former Cuban amateur star, defected from that country, had to do it twice, arrested the first time. So he's had a very intriguing and difficult journey to get his freedom to fight, taking on Rico Ramos in the red trunks, who is defending his title for the very first time. Ramos was down in round number 1, and since then it's been a tactical affair, but with Rigondeaux doing most of the punching.
Well, a busy junior featherweight or a super bantamweight would throw 77 punches in 1 round. That's Ramos' total for 4 rounds. And Rigondeaux, not that much busier, only 101 punches thrown.
In fact, the average, according to show stats, is 59 punches around for fighters in this weight division. So both these men well below that figure. Again, the left hand by Rigondeaux.
This fight is starting to look very much like a fight I called in New York. Rigondeaux's 4th pro fight when he fought Lanty Addy. He knocked Addy down in the first round. Addy gave up fighting because he couldn't compete, and Rigondeaux just controlled the pace, nice slow pace, didn't throw many punches, won every round. It's starting to look like that here.
Yeah, Ramos very, very inactive, halfway through round number 5. And Rigondeaux doing enough to win these rounds. There's a nice jab from Rigondeaux, one of his better jabs. And again, he uses his pawing motion. I agree with you, Steve. Right there, that's where Ramos puts himself in position to throw the left hook and just doesn't throw the punch.
It looks like he'll throw 1-2 punches and he'll grab, you know, instead of being in position to throw more combinations or give a guy angle. It looks like he's in hot water and he's putting his foot in there to see just how hot. He's not going to jump in this water anytime soon.
And there he stepped on the toe of Rigondeaux, a strategy suggested by fine trainer Steve Farhood. Well, this is a 194-day layoff. Good jab by Rico Ramos there. 194-day layoff for Ramos, the longest of his career. Perhaps that also is having something to do with this, although we pointed out when he fought Shimoda, the title, this is the same kind of start he had.
You see Rigondeaux, very wide stance, and his footwork is magnificent. And what I mean by that is just watch when Rico Ramos approaches, how Rigondeaux has that escape route planned already to step to his left, or in that case his right. He can go either way. Beautiful footwork. The use of your feet is, to me, the most underrated part of defense. Just stepping out of range.
Seconds remaining here in round number 5, and Guillermo Rigondeaux has again controlled another round. due largely to Rico Ramos's inactivity. There's some body work by Rigondeaux to punctuate that.
He's slowing down. But you don't launch with that body, right? Okay. Take that step over to the right. Okay. Keep your foot on the outside. Take that step over to the right. You got me? Yeah. Okay. Take a deep breath. He's slowing down. He's slowing down. He's slowing down. Yeah. Don't be careful. But you gotta let them hands go.
Oye, hame maniobra, Rigo, con los pies. Hame una maniobra con los pies para poderlo golpear.
I want you to fade in with your footwork, you understand? I need you to start changing your fighting style, all right? Don't stay still too much, okay? Keep moving around. Keep moving around, okay? Don't stay still in one place, all right? Clean your gloves, Rigo. Clean your gloves, Rigo.
We head into round number 6, and the words of Ismail Salas might not be what every boxing fan wants to hear. You want to start moving around now, which kind of sounds like going into the four-corner offense after you won the first 5 rounds. We'll see if that happens.
Al, I'm going to take my headset off and go over and speak to Salas about that. Do you mind?
Well, we've already acknowledged that you're a terrific trainer with your advice, and you know.
Well, Rigondeaux right now is in an interesting place. With 5 rounds complete, he's clearly ahead.
Yes.
He scored the knockdown. But here comes part 2 of the equation with him. Does he want to make himself more marketable? Does he want to make himself more exciting? Or does he want to hear the scattering of boos we've heard over the last couple of rounds?
It's a great point, and it's a lot of what this fight is about.
Yeah, I mean, with Rico Ramos, we understand why he's a little bit gun-shy. We just don't understand why Rigondeaux is gun-shy, because he's the one put forth the power punch, got the knockdown. Really, has been no resistance for him going forward and making this an action fight.
That's a very good point. You can make the case more for Rico Ramos being tentative at 24 and in his first title defense, but not for Rigondeaux. And a lot is at stake. You know, when he fought Ricardo Cordoba, he was roundly criticized, and maybe some thought more so. Now, there's apparently a low blow. Let's see if Joker, well,
Joe seemed to indicate rabbit punch.
Yeah, and the left eye of Ramos is, got a problem, and now here comes Rigondeaux. And there goes Rico Ramos from a left to the body, and that one was very legal.
6, 7, 8, 9.
It is over. Guillermo Rigondeaux, with a body shot, ends this fight and ends the 1-fight reign of Rico Ramos in the 122-pound division. And that is a happy Team Rigondeaux as they see their man in his 9th professional fight win a world title.
That's impressive. It's
yeah.
You know, but to the credit of Rigondeaux, he did what he had to do. But I just feel like when I look at Rico Ramos and his ability to do what he needed to do tonight, it was just a young fighter, way in over his head, became champion too soon. And where you go when you're champion, you have to fight the top-notch competitors. There's nowhere to go but up.
And Rigondeaux was a mandatory challenger, which is the key. But we like that. We want to see people fight real people in boxing. You know, you went through arenas in the light heavyweights where, you know, you fought Roy Jones Jr. and Glenn Johnson forever for 6 years, 3-4 years, and those were all great fights. Well, for Rico Ramos, this young 24-year-old, the disappointment is apparent, and they could not get it done against a 31-year-old who is obviously has all the skills in the world. And what we have to say, too, is he did end up winning by stoppage. So there was power for Rigondeaux in this fight.
And like I said before, I didn't understand why he was gun-shy. You know, this guy has all the ability. He needs to start putting it forth and working on that and letting the world see what he's definitely made of.
Well, he might have heard you on that one. Now, the action just before the fight ended. Now, there is a kind of a pulling motion, and there was a good left uppercut that landed. Now, this really bothered Rico Ramos. I guess maybe the pulling of the head down or something, and it made him tentative. And then Rigondeaux went after him.
Well, he was tentative the whole fight.
Yes, that's
true.
I mean,
that really didn't have anything to do with it. But in the future, Rigondeaux could possibly get disqualified or even a point taken away because that looked to me to be obvious that he pulled his head and hit him while he was holding.
Yeah, that was holding and hitting. There's no question about that. There's the body work by Rigondeaux, and boy, those were good body shots, and he can throw good body shots. This is the second fight in a row in which Rigondeaux, first against Willie Casey, and now in this fight, after the tentative performance against Cordoba, where he has won by stoppage and where he's won with his power.
And again, that's a 7-punch combination with the left hand only.
You said it. You don't see that very often, almost never. But this man has a very good left hand. Does not use the jab much, but he can land that
educated. It's educated.
Now let's bring Chuck Giampa in to weigh in on the question of holding and hitting. Chuck, what did you see there?
Well, I thought that Rigondeaux did enough to control the rounds. He didn't go all out, but when he had him hurt, he knew how to finish him off.
And what about this holding and the hitting with the uppercut? What do you think of that? And Joe Cortez did give him a warning about holding behind the head.
He gave him a warning, but to me it wasn't that obvious where it necessitated a point deduction.
Right, and it was the first time he'd actually done that move.
Right.
So. All right, well, in any case, Guillermo Rigondeaux wins the title in his 9th pro fight, and Barry Egan is in the center of the ring. Barry? We're going to get to Barry in just a moment, and we're going to get the announcement in just a moment on this match. Right. And there you see these two men with some sportsmanship. And for Reggie Jackson, you see him there in his first outing with Rico Ramos. Didn't turn out the way he would have liked it. But for Ismael Salas, first-time trainer of this man. And there was a guy in the ring there, Ramon Garbe, a great Cuban amateur. Antonio Tarver only lost about 6 or 7 fights, and some of those weren't losses. Ramon Garbe was one that beat you, and he's the only one that did it legitimately, I think.
Yeah. I mean, he was a great amateur fighter as well. Never did make the transition to a great pro, but nonetheless, a great amateur.
He really was. Well, let's send things up to Barry Egan and get the announcement.
The time, 1 minute and 29 seconds of round number 6 for the winner by knockout and new WBA Super Bantamweight Champion of the World, Guillermo El Chico Rigondeaux.
And so it is a big win for Guillermo Rigondeaux as he gets his win and gets his title in only his 9th professional fight. Tremendous effort by him. And we take a look at some of the numbers, Antonio, and as we look at these, we see that Ramos throwing so few punches and not landing very many. It wasn't that Rigondeaux was tremendously active, but many of those punches he landed, of course, were great power punches.
Yeah, great power punch with the left hand, but you look at this, the graphic on the 9% of jabs, 5 jabs that landed the whole fight. He needs to pick up that jab, make that jab his offense as well as his defense, because when he step up in competition against guys like Danilo Donaire, he's going to need that jab as a weapon.
All right, so great effort by Guillermo Rigondeaux, and our Steve Farhood is with him now.
Thank you very much, Al. Louis de Cubas will translate. Whoops, getting a little crazy. A lot of happy people. Guillermo just won the world title in his 9th fight. That is very unusual, even for someone with his tremendous amateur background. Did he surprise himself at all by doing that?
Dice, ganando la pelea, el título mundial con 9 peleas fue una cosa bien grande. Si eso te sorprendió a ti.
No, bueno, lo que me sorprendió fue que en el 2011 me cerraron un poquito la puerta, pero bueno, en este 2012 yo la abrí y bueno, voy a seguir haciendo todo lo que tengo que hacer. Bueno, con el promotor mío va a ver y junto con Luis de Cuba y Caribe en Promoción esperamos que muevan las cartas rápido, que me pongan con Donaire, que menciona a todo el mundo, pero a mí no mencionan en esa lista. El campeón ahora soy yo, él no es campeón en 122, el campeón soy yo.
He says they closed his doors in 2011. A lot of guys, you know, they wanted to give an opportunity, but now 2012, you know, it's going to be his time. You know, he's got the greatest promoter of all time, Bob Aaron with Top Rank. Boris Arcevia from Caribe Promotion. You know, he just wants
sent out by Guillermo.